Hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and today I want to share with you how to make the perfect yarn pom-pom. I will confess, when I first started crafting, I loved the look of a good pom-pom, but was baffled by how people made them look so nice. After some research and some practice, I figured it out though. And good news, like many other things in yarn craft, it's not complicated. It just takes a couple tips and tricks that you might not know to help you make the perfect yarn pom-pom. And I'm going to show you how. Let's go. All right, let's start off by talking about what you need to make your pom-poms. It's a pretty short list and super simple. While you can make pom-poms with just cardboard, I found that to be incredibly frustrating. My pom-poms always turned out very lopsided and took a really long time to trim. And so I found when I invested in pom-pom makers, it made a huge difference in the amount of time being less and it allowed me to waste a lot less yarn. So if you don't have a set of these Clover pom-pom makers, I highly, highly recommend them. They come in lots of different sizes, from large to teeny tiny, and I don't even think I have all of the sizes here. So check out the description below for links to where you can shop these wonderful little pom-pom makers. So I recommend a pom-pom maker. You can use any type of yarn to make your pom-poms. Today I'm going to use Brava Bulky because that makes a super speedy pom-pom. The finer the yarn, the more it's going to take to make your pom-pom. And then I also recommend a really nice sharp pair of scissors. And I actually really like a smaller pair of scissors with a pointy tip. I just think it helps both in cutting the pom-pom off of the pom-pom maker and in trimming it into a really nice shape. So I really like small, sharp with a pointed end. Pom-pom makers, when you first get them, can feel a little baffling. And I'm actually going to use one of my medium-sized pom-pom makers here. They look weird, to be totally honest with you. They come in two parts. And they open up like this. Now, once you get the hang of it and understand how to use these, they're super, super simple. So don't let the oddness of this tool freak you out. It really is super simple. So what you're going to do is you want the two ends or sides, sorry, put together to start your pom-pom, and then you're just going to open it up. And I like to start on the inside with my yarn because it gives me a place to hold my tail. That tail doesn't need to be long. It's going to be part of the fluffy part of the pom-pom, so don't worry about like leaving some giant tail. It's not something you need to use in the future. So a nice short tail is really simple. And then you're just going to start wrapping around the little rainbow shape here, and you can see it's two pieces and you want to wrap around both of them. Now I have found that careful wrapping can make all of the difference in trimming your pom-pom later. So you can be super, super methodical about counting the number of wraps you do, to make sure that you get both sides symmetrical when you switch to the other side. I have found that to be a bit tedious, especially if you're making lots of pom-poms. And so what I do is I just, I try to eyeball it to be as even as possible. So I start on one side and I wrap. And once you've got a few wraps, you can let go of that tail. That's not a big deal. I wrap around and I try to keep it fairly even. The more yarn you have wrapped around your pom-pom maker, the fluffier your pom-pom will be. So I do find that I prefer a nice fluffy pom-pom, and so lots of wraps and making it really full is what I prefer. So I go across one side and then I wrap back the other direction. And you can see I'm wrapping over the same spot several times to get that full fluffy pom-pom, and that's okay. You don't have to line, it's not a wraps per inch tool. You don't have to line up your wrappings perfectly. You just want to get about the same amount all the way around, and that will give you a more even pom-pom. So after I go to the other end, then I wrap back to here, and that's going to help me connect to the other side. So let me show you. I'm going to make a final wrap. So I've gone across and back, and I'm going to go back across one more time, filling this nice and full. You can see how fluffy my pom-pom is going to be because I'm filling it so nice and full. Once I get back to the other side here, there's no need to cut your yarn. I'm going to fold this down, and now you can see I'm meeting the other side here. So super simple. I just start wrapping that side, and I'm going to do it exactly the same way I did with the previous side. So here we go, super speed. All right, once you have the other side filled approximately the same amount, you're going to fold that end in two, and then you're going to take your sharp scissors and you're going to cut your yarn off. And now you've got a very full pom-pom maker for your nice fluffy pom-pom. Again, these tails will get trimmed, so it's no big deal that they're like flopping around and not exactly the same length as the rest of the yarn that's wrapped around the pom-pom. Then you're going to make yourself a tail, you know, 6-10 inches. It doesn't need to be giant. Depending, this can be what you use to tie your pom-pom onto your project though. So depending on what you're attaching your pom-pom to, you may want to use a different material. If you're going to use it to tie to the top of a hat, you might want something a little more sturdy than just the yarn you use. That'll help to keep your pom-pom from being wobbly. Or even if you use the same yarn, you may want to do a couple lengths of it to give it extra sturdiness. So totally up to you. Now, to get your pom-pom off of your pom-pom maker, you're going to take your super sharp scissors. You're going to turn your pom-pom maker to the side, and you can see this little split in your pom-pom maker, and this is where you're going to insert your scissors and get under all of those layers of yarn and just start trimming it off of the pom-pom maker. It's kind of satisfying to watch them pull apart. You can just see them kind of. And I like to take this slow because I find that the more accurate I am with this, the less trimming my final pom-pom takes. And I'm just going to keep trimming all the way around, getting down in that groove and trimming all of the yarn that I've wrapped around the pom-pom maker. And once you get to one side, you're just going to keep going around to the other side. This does take a little hand strength. It can be kind of challenging because you're cutting through lots of wraps of the yarn. So just take it slow, take it easy, don't hurt your hands here. And you're going to go all the way around through all of the strands. And I like to just give it one more look and make sure I've cut everything. This is the strand that I wrapped between the two sides, and so that one can be missed sometimes. Just important to have them all trimmed before you tie your knot around your pom-pom. So this is going to be what holds the pom-pom together. So I'm going to place it in that groove, wrap it all the way around to the other side, staying in the groove of the pom-pom maker. And here's my first little tip. I really like to wrap twice. I think that firms your knot up and makes it less slippery. So wrap once, twice, and then pull your knot nice and tight. This is not a time to be gentle. That knot is what is going to hold your pom-pom together. And if it's too loose, the strands of your pom-pom will just fall apart. And so I always like to secure it with at least 2, sometimes 3 knots. This would be another great time if you're going to add, if you want to add a different thread or something to your pom-pom to attach, this would be a great time to do it. Once you have that knot tied nice and tight, you're going to open up your pom-pom, the sides of your pom-pom maker. This can be a little challenging to do because you've got all this fluffiness here, but you're not going to hurt anything by pulling on it. And you can see there's half of it. And then same thing for the other side. Open that up, other fluffiness. There's one of my tails. Oh, there's the other tail. And then you're just going to take the pom-pom maker apart. And that's my pom-pom. Now, when I first started, give it a shake. Just this was a big improvement over what I was making on the cardboard that I had been using previously. But if you look at this, well, first of all, you can see that guy hanging out there. Not the same. But if you look at it, you can see there are several spots where my pom-pom is not even. And if you look at it from the top, you can see it's kind of oblong. It's wider than it is tall. And so this is the step that I find to be the most important to making your pom-pom look really nice. And that is you have to trim your pom-pom. This is not finished. So trimming your pom-pom makes a giant mess. I'll be real honest with you. I'm going to push my stuff out of the way here so that it doesn't get all messy. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to hold it kind of along the edges of my pom-pom. And I'm just going to trim and rotate and trim and rotate and trim until I have what I think looks like a really nice, even pom-pom. Here we go. Okay. I think that looks a lot better. You can see I'm a lot more even, bottom to top and side to side. I have found that as a perfectionist, I could trim a pom-pom to nothing. There's always, you know, just one more little piece that's sticking out a little differently. Every time you like fluff your pom-pom, something can stick out. I have been known to take a pom-pom or take a pair of scissors to a pom-pom on a hat of my children and trim a little piece that's sticking out. But you do want to be careful, because if you trim every time you trim, you're shrinking the size of your pom-pom, and you really can end up trimming it to almost nothing. So this is a situation where good is good enough. Perfect can leave you with a really tiny pom-pom. So perspective is good here. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for a nice general shape, and that when you spin it around, you're feeling good about it. Now, some people steam their pom-poms, and steaming the pom-pom can make these little ends all kind of open up, and it makes for a really fluffy pom-pom. So if you have a steamer, you might want to give that a try. It's kind of fun to experiment. Oh my gosh, do be careful, because the first time I tried it, I absolutely burnt the tips of my fingers. So you had to be careful where you're aiming your steam and where you're holding on to your pom-pom. But that might be something fun to try, especially if you're making like a hat with 2 pom-poms on it. Those are super cute. Or if you're making a scarf with a pom-pom on the end. You do kind of want to compare your 2 pom-poms to make sure they're about the same size, and that you haven't gone too crazy with trimming one pom-pom and now it doesn't match the size of the other one. Making a pom-pom, just like anything else, is a skill that takes a little practice. So have fun, practice. Again, this is not about perfection. It's just about having fun and making a really cute embellishment to go with your projects. And that is how you make the perfect yarn pom-pom. Instructions, as well as links to the tools that I use, are in the description below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of the tips, tricks, and tutorials that I share. There's also a link to sign up for my email so that you don't miss out on anything SEK handmade, and so that you can get the best discounts on all of my upcoming patterns. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and happy crafting!